Hear the sledges with the bells. The bells. Silver bells. What a world of merriment their melody foretells. How they tinkle, tinkle, tinkle in a icy air of night, while the stars that oversprinkle all the heavens seem to twinkle with a crystalline delight. Keeping time, time, time in a sort of runic rhyme to the tintinnabulation that is so musically wells from the bells, 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 bells. From the jingling and the tinkling of the bells, hear the mellow wedding bells, golden bells. What a world of happiness their harmony foretells. Through the balmy air of night, how they ring out their delight from the molten golden notes, and all in tune what a liquid ditty floats. The turtle dove that listens while she gloats on the moon. Oh, from out of the sounding cells, what a gush of euphony voluminously wells. How it swells, how it dwells on the future, how it tells of the rapture that impels to the swinging and the ringing of the bells, 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 of the bells, 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 to the rhythm, to the rhyming and the chiming of the bells. Hear the loud alarm bells, brazen bells. What tale of terror now their turbulency tells? In the startled ear of night, how they scream out their affright. Too much horrified to speak, they can only shriek, shriek out of tune. In a clamorous appealing to the mercy of the fire, in a mad expostulation with the deaf and frantic fire, leaping higher, higher, higher with a desperate desire, and a resolute endeavor now to sit or never. By the side of the pale-faced moon, oh, the bells, bells, bells. What a tale their terror tells of despair, how they clang and clash and roar. What a horror they outpour on the bosom of the palpitating air. Yet the ear is fully knows, it fully knows by the twanging and the clanging, how the danger ebbs and flows. Yet the ear distinctly tells in the jingling and the wrangling, how the danger sinks and swells by the sinking or the swelling in the anger of the bells, of the bells, of the bells, 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 in the clamor and the clangor of the bells. Hear the tolling of the bells, iron bells. What a world of solemn thought their monody compels. In the silence of the night, how we shiver with affright at the melancholy meaning of their tone. For every sound that floats from the rust within their throats is a groan. And the people, the people, they that dwell up in the steeple all alone, and who tolling, 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 in that muffled monotone, feel a glory in so rolling on the human heart of stone. They are neither man nor woman, they are neither brute nor human, they are goals, and their king it is who tolls, and he rolls, 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 a paean from the bells. And this his merry bosom swells with the paean of the bells, and he dances and he yells, keeping time, time, time in a sort of runic rhyme. To the paean of the bells, keeping time, in a sort of runic rhyme, to the throbbing of the bells, bells, to the sobbing of the bells, keeping time, as he knells in a happy runic rhyme, to the rolling of the bells, to the rolling of the bells, bells, to the moaning and the groaning of the bells. Eulalim. The skies they were ashen and sober, the leaves they were crisp and sere, the leaves they were withering and sere. It was night in the lonesome October of my most immemorial year. It was hard by the dim lake of Auber, in the misty mid-region of Weir. It was down by the dank tarn of Auber, in the gull-haunted woodland of Weir. Here once, through an alley titanic of cypress I roamed with my soul. Of cypress with psyche my soul. There were days when my heart was volcanic, as the scoriac rivers that roll, as the lavas that restlessly roll, their sulphurous currents down Yaanek, in the ultimate climbs of the pole, that groan as they roll down Mount Yaanek, in the realm of the boreal pole. Our talk had been serious and sober, but our thoughts, they were palsied and sere. Our memories were treacherous and sere. For we knew not the month, it was October, and we marked not the night of the year. Ah, night of all nights in the year, we noted not the dim lake of Auber. Though once we had journeyed down here, we remembered not the dank tarn of Auber, nor the gull-haunted woodland of Weir. And now, as the night was senescent, and star dials pointed to morn, as the star dials hinted of morn, at the end of our path a liquescent and nebulous luster was born, out of which a miraculous crescent arose with a duplicate horn, a starter's bediamonded crescent, distinct with its duplicate horn. And I said, she is warmer than Diane. She rolls through the ether of sighs. She revels in a region of sighs. She has seen that the tears are not dry. These cheeks where the worn never dies, and has come past the stars of the lion to point us the path to the skies, the Lethean peace of the skies, come up in despite of the lion to shine on us with her bright eyes. Come up through the lair of the lion, with love in her luminous eyes. But Psyche, uplifting her finger, said, sadly the star I mistrust, her polar strangely mistrust. Ah, hasten. Ah, let us not linger. Ah, fly, let us fly. For we must, in terror she spoke, letting sink her wings till they trailed in the dust, in agony sobbed, letting sink her plumes till they trailed in the dust, till they sorrowfully trailed in the dust. I replied, this is nothing but dreaming. Let us on, by this tremulous light, let us bathe in this crystalline light. Its sibyllic splendor is beaming, with hope and in beauty tonight. See, it flickers up the sky through the night. Ah, we safely may trust to its gleaming, and be sure it will lead us aright. We safely may trust to a gleaming that cannot but guide us aright, since it flickers up to heaven through the night. Thus pacified Psyche kissed her, and tempted her out of her gloom, and conquered her scruples and gloom. And we passed to the end of the vista, but were stopped by the door of a tomb, by the door of a legend tomb. And I said, "What is written, sweet sister, on the door of this legend tomb?" She replied, "Eulalim, Eulalim, 'tis the vault of thy lost Eulalim." Then my heart it grew ashen and sober, as the leaves that were crisp and sere, as the leaves that were withering and sere. And I cried, it was surely October on this very night of last year, that I journeyed down here, that I brought a dread burden down here, on this night of all nights in the year. Ah, what demon has tempted me here? Well, I know now this dim lake of Auber, this misty mid-region of Weir. Well, I know now this dank tarn of Auber, this ghoul-haunted woodland of Weir. To Helen, I saw thee once only, years ago. I must not say how many, but not many. It was a July midnight, and from out a full-orbed moon, that like thine own soul soaring sought a precipitate pathway up through heaven. There fell a silvery silken veil of light, with quietude and sultriness and slumber, upon the upturned faces of a thousand roses that grew in an enchanted garden, where no wind dared to stir unless on tiptoe, fell on the upturned faces of these roses, that gave out, in return for the love light, their odorous souls in an ecstatic death, fell on the upturned faces of these roses, that smiled and died in this parterre, enchanted by thee and by the poetry of thy presence, clad all in white, upon a violet bank. I saw thee half reclining, while the moon fell on the upturned faces of the roses, and on thy own upturned, alas, in sorrow. Was it not fate that on this July midnight, was it not fate, whose name is also sorrow, that bade me pause before that garden gate, to breathe the incense of those slumbering roses? No footstep stirred the hated world unslept, save only thee and me. O heaven, O God, how many heart beats in coupling those two words, save only thee and me. I paused, I looked, and in an instant all things disappeared. Ah, bear in mind this garden was enchanted. The pearly luster of the moon went out. The mossy banks and the meandering paths, the happy flowers and the repining trees were seen no more. The very roses' odors died in the arms of the adoring heirs. All expired save thee, save less than thou. Save only the divine light in thine eyes, save but the soul in thine uplifted eyes. I saw but them. They were the world to me. I saw but them, saw only them for hours. Saw only them until the moon went out down. What wild heart histories seemed to he enwritten upon those crystalline celestial spheres. How dark a woe, yet how sublime a hope. How silently serene a sea of pride. How daring an ambition, yet how deep. How fathomless a capacity for love. But now at length dear Diane sank from sight into a western coach of thundercloud, and thou, a ghost, amid the entombing trees didst glide away. Only thine eyes remained. They would not go. They never yet have gone, lighting my lonely pathway home that night. They have not left me as my hopes have since. They follow me, they lead me through the years. They are my ministers, yet I their slave. Their office is to illumine and enkindle, my duty to be saved by their bright light and purified in their electric fire and sanctified in their Elysian fire. They fill my soul with beauty, which is hope, and are far up in heaven the stars I kneel to in the sad silent watches of my night, while even in the meridian glare of the day I see them still too sweetly scintillant Venuses extinguished by the sun. Annabelle Lee. It was many and many a year ago, in a kingdom by the sea, that a maiden lived whom you may know by the name of Annabelle Lee. And this maiden, she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. I was a child and she was a child in this kingdom by the sea. But we loved with a love that was more than love, and I and my Annabelle, with a love that the winged seraphs of heaven coveted her and me. And this was the reason that long ago, in this kingdom by the sea, a wind blew out of a cloud by night, chilling my Annabelle, so that her high-born kinsman came and bore her away from me, to shut her up in a sepulchre in this kingdom by the sea. The angels, not half so happy in heaven, went envying her and me. Yes, that was the reason, as all men know, this kingdom by the sea, that the wind came out of the cloud, chilling and killing my Annabelle. But our love, it was stronger by far than the love of those who were older than we, of many far wiser than we. And neither the angels in heaven above nor the demons down under the sea can ever dissever my soul from the soul of the beautiful Annabelle. For the moon never beams with the bringing the dreams of the beautiful Annabelle, and the stars never rise, but I see the bright eyes of the beautiful Annabelle. And so all the night tide I lie down by the side of my darling, my life and my bride, in her sepulchre there by the sea, in her tomb by the sea, sounding sea. A Valentine. For her this rhyme is penned, whose luminous eyes, brightly expressive as the twins of Leoda, shall find her own sweet name that nestling lies upon the page, enwrapped from every reader. Search narrowly the lines, they hold a treasure divine, a talisman, an amulet that must be worn at heart. Search well the measure, the words, the syllables, do not forget the trivialest point, or you may lose your labor. And yet there is in this no Gordian knot, which one might not undo without a saber, if one could merely comprehend the plot. And written upon the leaf where now we are peering, eyes, scintillating soul, there lie Perdus, three eloquent words oft uttered in the hearing of poets by poets, as the name is a poet, too. Its letters, although naturally lying, like the night Pinto, Mendes Fernando, still form a synonym for truth. Cease trying. You will not read the riddle, though you do the best you can do. An enigma. Seldom we find, says Solomon Don Dunce, half an idea in the profoundest sonnet. Through all the flimsy things we see at once, as easily as through a Naples bonnet, trash of all trash. How can a lady done it? Yet heavier far than your Petrarchan stuff. Ow downy nonsense that the faintest puff twirls into trunk paper the while you con it, and veritably soul is right enough. The general tuckermenties are a rant, bubbles, ephemeral, and so transparent. But this is now, you may depend upon it, stable, opaque, immortal, all by dint of the dear names that lie concealed within it. For Annie, thank heaven the crisis, the danger is past, and the lingering illness is over at last, and the fever called living is conquered at last. Sadly, I know, I am shorn of my strength, and no muscle I move as I lie at full length. But no matter, I feel I am better at length, and I rest I composedly now in my bed, that any beholder might fancy me dead, might start at beholding me, thinking me dead. The moaning and groaning, the sighing and sobbing are quieted now with that horrible throbbing at heart. Ah, that horrible throbbing. The sickness, the nausea, the pitiless pain have ceased with the fever that's maddened my brain, with the fever called living that burned in my brain. And oh, of all tortures, that torture the worst has abated the terrible torture of thirst for the Naphtalian river of passion accursed. I have drank of a water that quenches all thirst, of a water that flows with a lullaby sound from a spring but a very few feet underground, from a cavern not far, very far down underground. And let it never be foolishly said that my room it is gloomy and narrow my bed, for man never slept in a different bed, and to sleep you must slumber in just such a bed. My tantalized spirit here blandly reposes, forgetting or never regretting its roses, its old agitations of myrtles and roses. For now, while so quietly lying in fancies, a holier odor about it of pansies, a rosemary odor, coming led with pansies, with rue and the beautiful Puritan pansies. And so it lies happily, bathing in many, a dream of the truth and the beauty of Annie, drowned in a bath of the tresses of Annie. She tenderly kissed me, she fondly caressed, and then I fell gently to sleep on her breast, deeply to sleep with the heaven of her breast. When the light was extinguished, she covered me warm, and she prayed to the angels to keep me from harm, to the queen of the angels to shield me from harm. And I lie so composedly now in my bed, knowing her love that you fancy me dead. And I rest so contentedly now in my bed, with her love at my breast, that you fancy the dead, that you shudder to look at me, thinking me dead. But my heart, it is brighter than all the many stars in the sky, for it sparkles with Annie. It glows with the light of the love of my Annie, with the thought of the light of the eyes of the Annie, my Annie. To fuck, beloved, amid the earnest woes that crowd around my earthly path, drear path, alas, where grows now even one lonely rose, my soul at least a solace hath, in dreams of thee, and therein knows, in Eden and of bland repose. And thus thy memory is to me like some enchanted far-off isle, in some tumultuous sea, some ocean throbbing far and free with storms, but where meanwhile serenest skies continually just o'er that one bright island smiled. El Dorado, gaily bedight, a gallant knight, in sunshine and in shadow, had journeyed long, singing a song in search of El Dorado. But he grew old, this knight so bold, and over his heart a shadow fell as he found no spot of ground that looked like El Dorado. And as his strength failed him at length, he met a pilgrim shadow. Shadow, said he, where can it be, this land of El Dorado? Over the mountains of the moon, down the valley of the shadow, ride, boldly ride, the shade replied, if you seek for El Dorado. Eulalie, I dwelt alone in a world of moan, and my soul was a stagnant tide, till the fair and gentle Eulalie became my blushing bride. Till the yellow-haired young Eulalie became my smiling bride. Ah, less bright, the stars of the night